Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Susan and today we are going to be making this beautiful Ankara dress that you're seeing with bias and a circled flash sleeve. So if this sounds like what you like to learn, stay on the line. And for us to make this dress, we actually need about 3 rows of bias. We need zipper, the longer one, and we also need the lining, and we need Ankara. So those are the things that we are going to be using to make this dress. I'm going to draft the front and back together. So this is me just going ahead to draw a straight line for my zipper. This is about 1.05 inches for my zipper. I went ahead to draw my starting line at the top. Note this fabric is folded into 4. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, and one is for the front and the upper one is actually for the back. So I'm just going to take a bust point, which is 11, and I'm going to mark from my shoulder to our under bust, which is 15, and I'm going to mark shoulder to our waistline, which is 16, and I marked there. Then I'm going to take as a waistline to our hip line, which is 27, and I'm going to mark. So after that, I'm going to take the full length of this dress, which is actually 39. So I'm going to add 2 inches for sewing allowance, and that is it. So I'm just going to go ahead now to roll the lines, and when I was done, I'm going to go ahead now to take the shoulder measurement divided by 2, and I'm going to add ½ inch for seam allowance. From there, I came down by 1 inch for my shoulder slope, and from there I'm going to take the width length of 3 inches for both front and back, and the front neck depth is going to be 3 inches while the back neck depth is going to be 1. So that is it. So from there, I'm just going to go ahead now to draw this line so it will indicate that that's the back when I'm going to cut the back side. So I'm going to just go ahead now to curve with my free hand. I'll just curve. I'll go ahead now to take our armhole measurement, and an armhole, you can get your armhole by dividing your bust circumference by 6. Whatever you have, you add 1.5 inches for that, and that will be your armhole. So I've already sloped the shoulders. So right now what I have here is 8 inches. So I'll make sure I have 8 inches at the point where I'm going to insert the armhole measurement. So from there, I'm just going to take my armhole. I'll draw a straight line across to meet the 8th point that I dotted at the down, and from there I'm just going to go ahead now to extend the line over to the other side. I'll look for the midpoint of the armhole and I'm going to mark. From there, I'll just curve with my curve ruler. Remember, this is the back armhole that we are drafting. We've not drafted the front armhole yet. So when I was done curving, I will just keep that aside while we go ahead now to take our body measurement. We're going to divide our bust circumference by 4, and whatever we have, we'll add it there. Then I'm going to add 1 inch for ease. I also add 1.05 inch for sewing allowance. So when I was done with that, I'm going to take our under bust measurement divided by 4, and I'm also going to add 1 inch for ease, and I'll add 1.05 for seam allowance. I'll also take our waist measurement divided by 4. I'll add ½ inch to it, and I'm going to add extra 1.05 inch for seam allowance. I'll come down to our hip measurement, and I'm going to look at it. That's our hip point. I'll come down by our hip point, and I'm going to also take our hip divided by 4, and I'm going to add 1 inch for ease, and I'm also going to add 1.05 inch for seam allowance. And exactly what we have at that waist, at that hip, that's what we're going to impute at the down part. There is not going to be slit in this dress, so at least there should be allowance for free movement. So that's why we are taking exactly. Right now, I'm just going to go ahead now to connect all the points together. I'll connect from the bust point to the underbust, from the underbust to the waist, and from the waist to the hip. I'm just going to connect it this way. I'll connect the allowances, and I'm also going to connect it down to the line, just like that, guys. So from there, we are just going to go ahead now to cut. So because we are just cutting the back, so we are going to go ahead and cut the neckline for the back and also cut the neckline out. So when I was done with that, I'm going to shift this and I'm going to use my curve ruler right now to curve to get the front neckline. That's 3 inches for the front neckline, as you can see me doing. So from there, I'm just going to cut. Don't do mistake to cut front and back together. Lift it and cut. So when I was done, I'm also going to lift my front because I'm going to cut the front armhole. I'm going to lift my back and I'm going to cut the front armhole. When I was done, I just come in by half an inch so we can go deep for our front armhole. So when I was done, I'm just going to go ahead now to cut it with my scissors. And that's it, guys. That's it. So we are done with the cutting of this dress. So right now I just want to mark where I'm going to put my pocket. So the pocket is going to be at, from the underbust you can go down by 7 inches or 8 inches depending on the height of the person. So this one I'm actually going down by 8 inches. That's just like 1 inch above the waistline. So, or you can do by the waistline. So from there I'm just going to notch. So at the down part, I'm just going to come up by 1 inch or 1.05 inch and I'm going to connect it down because I don't want that place to be straight. So I'm just going to go ahead now to cuff it that way. So that is it, guys. So when I was done, I'll just cut it off. And guys, this is my pocket. I'm just trying to, I've gone ahead to cut it. This is about 7 inches for the opening. So I'm just going to come here by 1 inch and I'm just going to curve this way. So when I was done, this is what we are going to have. As long as your hand can fit into the pocket, that's fine. So after that, we are going to go ahead now and cut the lining. I've cut the lining, I've cut everything the same. So I want to show you guys how to get that perfect lining, not having extra ads. Like after turning it, you will not have extra. So what I did is that, our allowance is 2 inches, so I'm just going to cut out 2 inches first. I'll cut out 2 inches first. After I cut out the 2 inches, I'm going to also reduce it by another 1.5. So that's going to be like 3 inches altogether. If you cut, some people just cut that 2 inches and that will be all, and after sewing it you see it will not correspond. So this is how it's going to be. We are going to use half inch to join to join it together. We are going to use half inch to turn it, so I'm going to cut 1.5 out again, and by the time we are done sewing, everything is just going to align. So that is it. This is how we are going to sew it. We're using to turn and everything will just align perfectly. So that's it, guys. So right now I'm going to go ahead now to cut my facing. I'm going to add facing to this dress. It's actually optional. So this is for the front, but as there is a zip at that front, if anybody opens the zip, so what they should be saying is going to be the Ankara. So I'm just going to turn it this way, and so that it will be neat, I'll stitch it up on that place. I'll do the same for the front and the back. When I was done, this is what we have, guys. So after that, I'm going to place that aside and I'm going to turn my down. I'll turn it by half inch, right side facing right side, lining and fabric, right side facing right side, and we are going to turn by half inch. When I was done turning, I'm still going to stop stitch. I'll stop stitch on top. You've seen this is how it is. And when we are done, we are going to also turn the neck. This is the back. We are going to turn the neck. I'll use Amy gum to turn the neck because I'm not going to stop stitch. I use Amy gum to turn the neck. So when we were done, this is what we have. And let me show you what I was talking about. You can see there is a notch there, and That's where we have that notch, and this is our armhole, so you can see it's corresponded. So that is that. We are going to go ahead to keep that aside. Let's work on the front. Before we turn, we have already turned the front, but we've not turned the side of the front. So right now we're just going to go ahead now. From that allowance, we are going to determine how we want our bias to be. This is the time where we need to fix that bias before we can turn the sides. So I'm just going to keep about 2.5 inches space before I turn the before I place the bias on top. You can see the lines. I'm going to leave about 2 inches before I start rolling those lines. So there is going to be 2 inches at the down, 2 or 3 inches at the down. So this is me on the machine. So this is me just stitching it round on top. Stop stitching. I'm going to do that for the both edges. Please, if you've watched this video to this point, I'd like to please beg you to subscribe, turn on the notification button. Please like this video. This means a lot to me. If you like this video, YouTube will help me to recommend it to other people, and that's how I'm going to grow. Please watch my videos, like, share to your friends. And to my returning subscribers, thank you so much guys for your support. I really do appreciate. Thank you so much for stopping by, and let's go. So I'll just go ahead and stitch everything round. You can see I'll just stitch it 1 2 3 and we are done. I'll repeat the same for the other one, and when I was done, guys, look at it here. So that's it. So I'm just going to go ahead now and turn the sides, leaving the zip allowance. I'll not turn the zip allowance. So I'm going to go ahead now to join the sides just this way. We're going to turn it. I'll also go ahead to turn the neck. So when I was done, this is what we have. Remember, I did not turn the zipper. So the zipper, because you're going to be putting the zipper separately, so we don't need to turn it. This is it when I was done turning both sides, and this is my bias. At this point, you can actually check if they correspond. Now I'm going to join my shoulder. I join my shoulder by 1/2 inch. You can choose to join it this way straight, or you can choose to turn it this other way. You can choose to turn it this other way and join it. Whichever works for you, that's what you're going to do. When I was done, I'll go ahead now. Look at how it is, guys. So I've joined it. So now I've also gone ahead to join my zipper. This is where we are going to add our zip. So now I'm going to shape with our body measurement. I'm going to shape. So when I'm done shaping, that's when we are going to go ahead now to join the zipper. So this is it when I was done. So right now I want to go ahead now to join a zipper. So I will first of all join the zipper this way. I have already opened it, so I've already marked where I'm going to start and where it's going to end. So you should do same. You know it's long, so this is how it's going to be. So we are going to just keep about 2 inches down. So I'm done adding my zipper. It's just the same way you add your zipper, but this one is going to be lining to lining and cloth to cloth. So that's it. So this is it when I was done stitching it. Just stitch it this way and then turn your lining. You can see how I'm doing it. When I was done, I just turn your lining this way, and you're going to stitch on top that seam. Turn your lining this way. So guys, this is it. So we are going to stitch on top of this seam so we can know exactly how we are stitching, so we'll not be stepping on the zipper. That's why I stitch. And when you get to the down part, you're just going to go straight and stitch on the main fabric straight. You get? Okay, so from the armhole, that's when we are going to turn it. So I'm just going to turn it from the armhole. That's why you need to fix your zipper first before your sleeve. So I turn it from the armhole, and this is what we have for this one side of the zipper. You can see how neat it is, both front and back. So right now you're going to go ahead now to do the same for the other side. Just do exactly how I did it. So this is how it's supposed to be. So I'm just going to zip it for you guys to see how it is. You can see how the zip is lying down. So guys, this is it. It's all right. So right now we are going to iron it. I'm going to iron it very well so everything can lie down flat, and we're going to work on our sleeve right now. So measure your round armhole because that's what we're going to use in cutting the sleeve. So look at the fabric. I folded 1, 2, and this is 4. You can see how I folded it. So I'm just going to turn. This is a circle flare. So this is this flare. So the length I want to use is actually like 5.05, but because of the type of sleeve we are doing, I'm going to cut 10 inches. I'm going to cut 10 inches for the first step. 10 inches. So I'll just make sure I have 10 inches round. So just cut 10 inches that way. Look at it. So when I was done, I went ahead to cut it. So after cutting it, I'm going to now work on this one. I'm going to notch so I'll know the midpoint. Then you can iron it down so the lines will show. So right now I'm going to, what we are going to do, we are going to do a little, we are going to divide the midpoint. We're just looking for the midpoint. So I'll just use that ruler to draw the straight lines across. So after I was done doing that, we are going to calculate, we are going to look for the radius of what we are going to use. So my round armhole is actually 19.05, but because there is gathers, I'm going to add about, I'll add 1 inch to it. So 1 inch, so it's going to be 20.05 that divided by 6.28. This is the radius for calculating the circle, round circle. So this is it. So what I had is 3.02. So but I'm just going to go ahead and make it 3.05 because there is gathers. That's why. But if there were no gathers, I'll just take exactly what I want, and I'll not be doing it round like this. I'll take it from under. But how the sleeve is, this is how we are going to start first. So after that, I'm just confirming that I have that 3.05. So just confirming that I have that 3.05, and I'm just rounding to make sure I have that my armhole. And when I was done, I have it. So I'm just going to go ahead now to keep this one aside, and we are going to cut all the sleeves together. So I'll use this one now to cut on another one, which this is the first step of the flare. So I'll fold my fabric first, then I'll make sure what I have here is up to 14. Make sure what you have here is up to the length that you want to work with. I'll fold it first, then I'll fold it second, then I'll fold it the last one. That's 4, because I want to cut the last one now, the first big sleeve. I want to cut everything together, so it's going to be 4. So what I have is 4, and I'm still going to go ahead now to, you can see it's 4, so it's double. Then after that, I'm still going to bend it. So what you are going to have is a double sleeve. So when I was done, I'll just place this one here. I place this one on it, and I'm going to go ahead now to measure. I want to use 13 inches for this one. That is more than by 3 inches longer. It's going to be 3 inches longer than the first one. So the first one was 10 and this one is 13. So I'm just going to go ahead now to cut. So after cutting it, I'm going to notch. You can still go ahead now to cut your sleeve here, but that's not, I want to cut everything together. So I'm still going to go ahead now to notch that point, because these are the 2 steps of the first one. So I'm going to place all these sleeves together, and I'm going to cut the armhole. So I went ahead and cut the armhole, and this is what we have. Mind you, I'm still going to reduce that down, but for now, since Since I'll be working on the sleeve, so I'm not going to touch it for now, but when I'm done with everything, I'm still going to reduce it down so it will not be too long, too longer. It's going to be longer but not too longer. So that's why I just reduce small first. Small. I'll still reduce more. Note that, please. Okay, so this is what I have here. So right now I'm going to place my bias on the wrong part of my sleeve at the edge. Then I'm going to sew it with that 1/4 inch. When I was done sewing it, this is it. I place it on the wrong part, wrong side. Then I'm going to flip it over to the right side, just the same way you do your bias. Then I'm going to stop stitch at the edge. That is it, at the edge. So when I was done, this is it. This is it for the first step. So right now I'll just use 1 inch. The gap I want to be using is 1 inch, so I'll come with 1 inch and I'll just make sure I have that 1 inch round, just around 1 inch, and I'm going to connect these points together. Going to connect the points together. When I'm done, I'm going to stop stitch on the line. I'll start from the line. You can see from the lines that I have, I'll start from there and I'll stop stitch both fronts and I'll stop stitch. Look at it, I've stop stitched that first one. Then I'm going to cover it this way and I'll stop stitch on top. That's it for the first layer of this sleeve. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same for the other side. So this is the second layer, exactly what we did at that first one. This is what I'm going to repeat, so there is no need showing you. So when I was done for the second one, what I'm going to do, since I want my lines to be since I want it to be 1 inch apart from each other, so this one I just took the first one 1 inch and the second one 1.5 inch, because by the time I place the first one on the first line, it's going to take 1/2 inch up. So from that 1/2 inch, I'm going to take another 1 inch. That's 2.5, if you understand. So when I was done with all the sleeves, this is what we have. Done with the second sleeve, this is what we have, guys. So right now I'm going to pin them together because I want to go ahead now to cut the armhole. Note that I already notched, so I know where the armhole part is. So this is it. So I just want to reduce it, so I'm going to flip it this way. I'll just flip it this way. So reduce it by 2.05 or 3 inches. That's what you're going to reduce it, so that the down part of that armhole is not going to be too, it's not going to be too down. It's going to be, they're not going to be equal, but then it's not going to be too obvious, you get. So when I was done that way, I'm going to go ahead now to cut. You can see as I've cut one part out. So this is how it is now when I was done cutting, and I'm just going to place it this way. You can see they are not the same. You can see it's on the down. You can see they are not the same. So after that, I went ahead to stitch round there and I gather it. You're going to gather it because there is a little gather at the front. Note that when we did that means the armhole has increased. That means more room for gathers. So right now I'm going to join the armhole to the sleeve. So at where you have the notch, that's where you're going to join it, and you're going to make sure you stitch it all around. Guys, I'm going to drop the video of just the sleeve where I'm making only the sleeve. It's going to be more detailed when I'm making just the sleeve, so you can check that out. I'll drop it in the description button. So this is how it looks like, guys. When I was done, this is our sleeve. I'll still put it on the mannequin for you guys to see. I've gone ahead to attach my pockets both side. So this is where we come to the end of our tutorials today, guys. Please like this video, please subscribe, please turn on the notification button, and please share to your friends. And thank you so much for stopping by. I really do appreciate